All right, and good morning, everybody. This is Sherman Ray, Black Success Magazine, the podcast. It is Thursday. I lost a day this week, folks. I don't know about you, but if you're like me, you lost a day this week. You had Martin Luther King's birthday starting off the week, and then we have the election and the inauguration of Joe Biden, and got to see Kamala Harris. I don't know if many of you know this, but she was wearing a black designer today, and we also saw a young woman. Her last name is Gorman. Oh gosh, I forgot her name. I had it on the tip of my tongue. She was actually the first and the youngest U.S. poet laureate, and she gave this great thing. It's just a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on this week. And so I lost a day and almost forgot that today was Thursday and that today is Financial Thursdays with Robby Thomas today. So we're going to be having Robby on the show in just a second. Just give you a kind of a little I don't know, what do we call it? Housekeeping with the show. Black Success Magazine. If you'd like to go to our website and check out all the stuff that we've got going on there, just go to our website at blacksuccessmagazine.com and you can check out all the stuff we've got on the website. We've got articles, we've got videos, podcasts, of course. And even if, let's say you go to the website and you're saying, no, sure, I don't have time to sit around and listen to a website, you can actually just say to your Alexa or one of your smart devices, just say, hey Alexa, I want to hear Black Success Magazine, the podcast. It'll come up. So we're on Apple Podcasts and you can check that out. As always, you can always email us at blacksuccessmagazine.com if you'd like to drop us a line, and we would love to hear about you. But today, folks, is Financial Thursdays with Robby Thomas, and we are bringing Robby on the show here, folks. Robby Thomas.
Good morning. Good morning.
Again, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. And yourself? You doing okay?
I'm doing awesome, man. Just another day. Now, were you listening to the inauguration?
Absolutely, yes. Certainly want to pay attention to everything that's going on in DC, and obviously paying attention to what's going to happen with respect to COVID. We know that that's a major issue. It's a situation that we have to deal with, and so looking forward to some of the policy implications of the new administration as well on the financial side.
Oh yeah, and things are going to change. I mean, we probably were we this isn't a political show, and we could but there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to be coming down the pipeline. I mean, anything that off the top of your head before we get into the subject today, anything off the top of your head that you're seeing that we might want to talk about later?
Yeah, I think getting our arms around COVID. I think for the last 12 months or so, almost 12 months or so, I've always felt that COVID was an economic issue. It's a public health issue, but it's certainly an economic issue. If we can't get our arms around COVID, this absolutely commercial activity will suffer. And so it's really important for the new administration to really hammer down on taking care of COVID from the federal level, whatever they can do from that vantage point. But that's really front and center for me, as a business owner and as a person that looks at economic issues, that needs to be addressed ASAP.
Oh yeah, definitely does. Well, Robby, today when we were talking about this before, what are we going to talk about today? And it's funny, I'm doing something here in the background. I know you guys can't see this, but I was doing a show day before yesterday, and we were talking about things that if you want to get things done, some things you got to take care of, and one of them is your email. And as we were talking, I could hear my email just binging and binging and binging. Turn off your email, folks. If you've got your email browser open, just turn it off and don't even listen to it, because during the day, so that's what I did. I just turned mine off. So what do you want to talk about today, Robby? This is Financial Thursdays with Robby Thomas. So for those of you who are just joining us right now, Robby Thomas is the CEO of GenRise. So is it properly, it's GenRise Consultants, GenRise?
It's just GenRise, period. And GenRise is an umbrella organization. We do financial literacy training. We also do consulting. But mostly it's really about empowering individuals around financial literacy issues. So We obviously do things around credit. We talk about, how businesses can retool, which we're going to talk about today. We're talking about a recovery plan. 2020 has been very, very, a tumultuous year for everyone. And regardless of whether you've done well or not, it's still been a very, very difficult year for many. And so I know that a lot of small businesses have been impacted. And one of the things that I was doing in the last week or so is really trying to come up with some things that I think will be very helpful for small businesses. And so we've got 4 steps to creating a recovery plan for small businesses in 2021. If you suffered losses, if you had a difficult time, which a lot of us have, right? But here's a few things that might be able to help us move the dial in the right direction. So.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's get started. So what's the first thing you want to talk about?
The first thing we want to do is to review our business. And so what does that mean? Reviewing your business entails really looking at, I use a tool called the 4-frame analysis, the 4-frame analysis. 4-frame analysis is a tool used by, it's actually created by 2 academians, Boldman and Deal. And it's a tool that looks at 4 different frames of a business. So it looks at a structural frame, it looks at the human resource frame, it looks at the symbolic frame, and also looks at the political frame. And this is not necessarily political as in terms of, the conventional way that we look at politics. So let's look at the structural frame. That looks at systems and procedures and, how you actually operate your business. Is it appropriate the way that you have constructed your business to deal with what's happening today? In other words, is your organization able to be flexible enough to handle some of the challenges that you're dealing with today, that COVID being sort of the biggest one? But it's really important to look at your business, review your operations to see whether or not you are making the right kinds of choices in terms of how you structure your business to deal with everyday challenges. For example, you have new infrastructural adaptations that needs to happen. You need to have people that are masked up, social distancing, able to do no-touch delivery in terms of services and things of that nature. But also, are you looking at what's going to happen over the next 12 months and are able to mitigate those types of challenges? So on the human resource frame, you're really looking at how you balance your employee relationships versus the resources that you have as an organization. And so those are some of the things that you want to revisit and make sure that you have a better grasp in terms of its sufficiency. So the political frame, if I'm going too fast, you can put me down because I do want you to.
Not at all, Robby. In fact, I think you'll. And what we'll do is, I know periodically people will jump in and they'll say, hey, you know what, I've really got a question on that. So we'll definitely do that. But definitely that first point you're saying, review your business. Because I don't know how many businesses actually do that, where they're actually kind of just saying, what am I doing? How am I doing it? What's my structure like in my business? Yeah.
Well, the reason for doing that is to, I think there's a book that I want to recall here, Who Moved My Cheese? Sometimes we're going back to something that we're familiar with. And the fact of the matter is the earth has shifted, right? The balance of, how our sense of equilibrium has been compromised. And we need to understand where we are. One of the things you do in business is to look at the economic landscape and be able to say, is everything that I have assumed going in the same? If it's not, then you need to do some shifting and some changing. And that's part of the process of reviewing your business.
Well, fantastic.
And this is one of my favorite frames. It's called the Symbolic Frame. And this is really about understanding your brand and knowing whether or not you need to tweak where you were versus where you want to be, where you want to go. So if your brand is something that might have been compromised, especially if your business hasn't done well, or if, to be honest, you may be outdated in how you approach your business. The world is increasingly digital, and you may have a brick and mortar mentality. So it's important to look at where your business your industry is going and be able to realize that growth trajectory so that you can incorporate some of the new tools to help your business move forward. So that's part of the review process.
Oh, okay.
Using
Yeah.
tools to make
And that's
sure.
what I was going to ask you. Are you still talking about reviewing your brand, or
Absolutely. All of those pieces
or
is really
redefining your
about
brand, or
reviewing your business.
reviewing your business? Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. You mentioned something about your second point, and as we were talking about this before, about redefining your brand. What do you mean by that?
So a lot of us have to, when you think about a brand that you appreciate and love, what is it about those brands that you appreciate? You know, you look at a Starbucks, for example, you look at Nike, very simple. And when people say brands, you know, most folks look at the logo. Branding is a lot deeper than just the logo. You know, it's about the culture of what it is you bring to the market, the way you operate your business, you know, having quality as your hallmark. Those are some of the things that you need to do. And so if you were compromised in any of those areas, you want to make sure you revisit those and begin to rebuild and rebrand yourself. And truth be told, you also need to look at it, because a lot of Black-owned businesses are really self-employers. You know, they're sole proprietors. They're one-man operations, one-woman operations. They don't have a lot of employees. So it's really important to make sure you have the culture and the integrity in your brand that, you know, the market will respect and understand. So the beginning of this new decade is important for us to say, where do we want to be, and what do we want to become? What do we want to shape? And it's a progressive move towards understanding what you want to have the market perceive you as. You know, someone of quality, a business of quality, a business that can be trusted, a business of integrity, business with high ethical standards. So those are some of the things that you want to do when you revisit or redefine your brand.
You know, it's funny, Robbie, you mentioned people redefining or just even looking back at their business, because most people, when they start a business, they're just, hey, I'm like a duck, you know.
Yeah.
On top of the water, I might look cool, but under the water, I'm just kind of just trying to live day to day. And I don't know how many people actually even think to that level of saying, you know what am I saying to the public with my business? Let's say you're a hairstylist or something like this, and we've seen so many hairstylists within the Black community, where you start out just great. It's this wonderful business that you're starting out with, and everybody's loving you. And then over the years, though, do you really pay attention to the brand that you were actually trying to establish in the beginning? And that's probably something that is that what you're kind of getting at?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. A lot of us drop our guard because, you know, we get comfortable with the idea that, you know, folks are coming to us. But, you know, you have to, whether you are conscientiously engaging in brand management, you are creating a brand. So, for example, in social media circles, you know, most people have a brand image and that they may or may not be aware of, right? You're creating a brand by putting content online, whether it's content about your business, about yourself. All of these things are shaping your brand image. And when you start looking at contracts and things of that nature, what do you think people first look at? When they get in touch with you, they're going to your page, they're going to your social media accounts. They're also looking at your ratings online to determine whether they are going to do business with you. So you really have to be conscientious about your brand and managing your brand in all of the areas that you are, you're distributing your services, whether it's online or in person, or what have you. So those are some of the things that we need to look at in 2021 as we begin to relaunch a business and recover. You know, and the act of recovery is really about looking at, okay, I've had some losses, major losses. Some people up to 50% of revenue is gone. How do you recover? You know, I was always told, you know, I was training to do work in more investment in the investment track, and they always talked about people that had losses kind of cut their losses and left the market, but the real smart people said, you know what, I want to create a recovery plan, and kind of this is how I developed this mentality about, hey, I want to make sure I recover what I lost and become even better going forward.
I know. And I'll tell you, Robby, that is probably one of the most important things that you've said, is that if you look at McDonald's or you look at some of these big brands, they are not going, okay, you know what, I had a tough year, we're just going to close our doors. Right. They just here in Las Vegas, we've got a lot of these huge casinos. You don't hear any of them saying, you know what, COVID has got my doors shut for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, now a year. I pass by the Palms a lot, and the Palms Casino has been down for nearly a year now. Right. But they're probably not saying, hey, you know, we're going to just shutter our doors forever. They're already thinking, how do I reinvest? How do I retool? How do I recover from this? Reposition. And that's, I think that's probably one of the most important things that we just don't look at as far as business owners, where we're going. There was somebody asked a question, and I appreciate it. Maybe we can talk about insurance in your business. Yes. Is that something you want to tackle right now, or can we do it? Would you like to do that offline?
I think it's certainly. I'm not sure what the context is, but obviously making sure that. So that's a part of reviewing your business, and so if you're looking at what happened last year as a lesson, right? What could I have done better? Maybe I could have had more insurance. Maybe I could have had some insurance against loss. Depending on the kind of business you have, you could integrate strategically mechanisms, tools that will help you survive and thrive. Because in business, there's cycles of booms and busts, right? There's peaks and valleys, and there, as you mentioned about the casinos. I have had some conversations with people in the casino business because I had done business with them. They were so optimistic about 2020. At the end of 2019, they were like, we're booked. I mean, the convention businesses were booked solid for the entire year.
Yes. Then
the first quarter, we started to see cancellations. And, to have the entire year without, having any real business, it's detrimental, right? Detrimental to a business, a company, a huge employer. And so the domino effect is, people really losing jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, insurance is really important for small business, and it's important to sit and talk to your financial planner and someone that is able to tell you, what's the best course of action in terms of coverage for your business. But I do have a couple other pieces. The retooling of your operations, kind of right in this in this conversation. Retooling your operations is important. Some of us are going to battle and going to bat with old tools, right? We're going to real conventional war with archaic tools, right? You can't do the slingshots if someone's bringing sophisticated weaponry to the 21st century. We need to look at the 21st century and our business and make sure that it mirrors the kinds of tools that we use and utilize to grow and expand our business. We need to really think differently. When we started our business, some of us have been doing certain things for a long period of time. If you're not engaging in lifelong learning and being able to up the ante, so to speak, and be able to maximize where you are with respect to the digital world, with respect to technology, with respect to information and data, we're not able to really make the kinds of gains to begin to not just grow our business, but scale our business. So you have to find ways to improve the tools that you use, whether that be technology. Some folks are saying, I don't really like computers. Well, you're going to have a difficult time. I don't like this application. I don't like that application. I don't know anything about social media. I don't know anything about digital assets. That's important to learn how this can really impact your well-being and your business's well-being.
I'll tell you, Robby, this once again, you're hitting on such great things. Or retooling. Um, if anybody, if you had known that this lockdown was going to last 3 months, 6 months, and now we're literally, I think the nation really went into lockdown April,
Yeah.
May, something like that. So which means we're coming up on a year of this lockdown. Had we known that we were going to be locked down this long, what would you have done differently?
That's a good
Because
question.
I mean, because there are people who've lost weight. They've written
Yeah.
books during this whole time. But waiting around hoping that the government's going to open back up is probably not the best use of your time.
Well, it's the $1 trillion question, right? Not the million or the billion. That's the $1 trillion question.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us probably would have put aside a little bit more reserves, right? When we were in obviously the better days. But the truth of the matter is, no one could have expected a downturn, and what we're seeing proves that. No one could have expected a downturn that would have impacted a business for an entire year, right?
Yeah.
We're good for 3 months. We're good for 4, 5, 6 months. Most people do reserves if you do have the ability to, 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And that's on the higher scale, the Fortune 500s, they still have a lot, they're still operating, they're still making product. But for the small businesses, and particularly African-American owned businesses that are undercapitalized and that does not have the capacity, they're really mostly micro businesses, don't have the kind of resources. But the good news is that, you still have a lot more flexibility, right? You can still find ways to continue operating if you take the time to review what you're doing, that you're able to rebrand yourself, that you're able to not just rebrand to something different, but to re-engage on the whole branding concept and to retool your business to accommodate where the growth trajectories are. Because, there are lots of businesses that have been making money throughout the pandemic. Zoom in particular has blossomed, right? Zoom just exploded, right? They're eating everybody's lunch. So you're talking about other Apple. So technology obviously is a very important part of what is happening in the new landscape. So how do we begin to make sure that when we retool, that we engage in this new arena or this emerging arena, not new so much as emerging, to tie in, where we can obviously exploit some of the new stuff coming down the pike. So those are some of the things that we have to do. And then finally, it really leads into reinvesting in our own recovery. A lot of us invest in other, in fact, we're buying Zoom, we're using Zoom, where we're signing up for them, right? And the reason that they're doing well is because everyone's using their product. Everyone has to get technology to stay connected. We're just by nature needing to connect. The restaurant business has certainly immersed themselves in the e-commerce arena. Not everyone was prepared for this, but I literally saw businesses shift to the exclusively online platforms. Now you can launch a business, essentially rent a small kitchen and do a solely online business. You're thinking about catering and waiting for people to do the kind of catering business that you might have been used to pre-pandemic. You can actually go get a small trailer, obviously make sure it's all regulatory, that's all regulatory specific, but also make sure that you can market your business, but you can actually run a business online, a restaurant online without having a front, one of those storefronts. So there's some things that have happened that can really change the trajectory of a business if we take the time to sit down and figure it out. I think there's a lot to discover. And one of those things that you have to do is to reinvest in the recovery of your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is, we were talking about this before, is that if we go down, and I think Las Vegas is a great example of businesses that are just they're not going to give up.
Yeah.
We have a whole strip that is a couple of miles long,
right?
And none of those businesses are going to shut down. It's not like you're, when you go into the regular, the space out in the city where strip mall after strip mall is just empty.
Right.
These guys, I think we can all take a page out of the casino owner's operating manual and say, okay,
right.
guys, closing is not an option.
Right.
Or it's just not I can see it right now. Even Sheldon Adelson, who just passed away, bless him.
God bless him.
He just passed away, and Sands Corporation is not thinking, "Oh, Sheldon's gone, we're going to close the doors."
Yeah,
they've got a long range plan that says, "Come hell or high water, we've got our tentacles out all over the place."
Yeah,
and we're going to survive this. It's just we just have to, put our heads together and figure that out. So you've given us some great tools here to get people started, get people the conversation going on this. Robby, are you writing a book on this? Is this something that you're
I'm actually
writing?
Doing an article that we'll post probably in the next day so on the Black Business Facebook page.
Okay.
Right? And so one of the things that I wanted to say is that in addition to what you just brought up is, yes, it's been a very, very difficult time. And there are a lot of businesses that will not survive, that have not made it through. But there are opportunities that are in this space, in this chaotic moment, in this moment of, this tough, set of circumstances that we've had to experience, the death, the isolation, all of these things. Yet, the sole purpose of business is to create profit, right? To make money. And so if you have a business that's not making money, then you have to ask yourself, why? Why is that not happening? Is it because of something I'm doing? Is it something because of what's happening in the environment? And so those are some of the kinds of questions that you have to understand. The most important thing is in business, I think, besides having a great plan and having great vision and a great product, is timing.
Yeah. And
we have to know when the opportunity to strike is right at our fingertips. And so that's the importance of doing this whole, repositioning situation here. It's really about looking at, where do we begin to take advantage of some of the things that we're seeing emerging in this new space? To your point, the strip is not going to go out of business. Yeah. Right. Here's the beautiful thing. There is going to be pent up demand. Some of the indicators that I've been looking at, savings, people are actually saving more money right now than they did pre-pandemic.
Even though they're not making any money.
Yeah, right.
Saving what they got.
People are saving their money, right?
Sure.
Tesla stock went up because people were buying electric vehicles, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
People are buying technology because they got to stay connected. So, but they're not going out to work, in the traditional sense. They're working from home. So you don't have to go out and buy your $500 suit, right?
Yeah.
So you have now a pent-up demand that is going to be unleashed at some point. Yeah. So how do we position our businesses to take advantage of what's getting ready to happen? It will happen at some point. In fact, a lot of talking heads look back at what happened in the Roaring 20s, and they look at the decade similar to what they did in the 20s. That people just said, hey, you know what? I've been in lockdown for so long, and I just need to go out. So Vegas, we'll see another resurgence. It may take a little while, but I think eventually, people will want to go out. They will want to spend money. They will want to take advantage of being locked up or to experience that freedom again.
That's true. Robby, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. We're out of time, bro, but we will put a link to connect with Robby. His article coming out in just a minute, which is on the on how to recover in 2021 and retooling your business. Robby, thanks so much, brother. We will talk to you in just a little bit, brother.
My pleasure.
And folks, thank you so much for being a part of Black Success Magazine, the podcast. Once again, if you'd like to get a hold of us, just go to our website at www.blacksuccessmagazine.com. You can connect with us at info@blacksuccessmagazine.com. This has been Sherman Ray. We will see you again tomorrow, which will be Open Line Friday, so you can actually check us out and talk about what you want to talk about. Tomorrow, 8:30 a.m., Black Success Magazine, the podcast. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.